Hello and welcome to the panel at DublinBIC. It is Thursday, the 4th of June, and I am here today with Bobby Healy. Bobby, you're very welcome.
Thanks very much. Nice to be here.
Bobby, you started out as a games developer. You've been the founder and you've built a number of businesses in the travel technology software space. And the most recent startup for you is Manna, which I know many people will have heard of and know about, but could you tell us please what is Manna and how are you getting on with it?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock to not know what we're up to now. It's one of those businesses that attracts a lot of attention for, obvious reasons. And, we're lucky that way. It's so interesting, so exciting that everyone wants to talk about it. Newspapers want to cover it and so on. So what it is what it says on the box. It's manna from heaven. We carry products, be it convenience items, food, pharmacy, straight from retailers and producers in the local community directly to consumers' homes by drone. So we carry the cargo inside the aircraft, and we hover about 15 meters and lower the product onto the ground, after carrying it to whatever 2 to 3 miles from the central place. So that's the drone behind me. I'll get out of the way so you can see it nearly to scale. You could fit my head inside the drone. We've tried.
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, but it's a drone delivery as a service, so simplifying it. So think of us as a delivery company.
And I know that I think I'm right in saying that you were planning on having a trial of the service on the UCD campus, and then the pandemic hit. There was nobody on the campus, so there was a fairly serious requirement for a pivot there. Can you tell me about that?
So yeah, we were due to go live on March the 18th in UCD, and that was with Just Eat and Camille Thai, and we were going to just, there's 30,000 plus students in UCD, and we were going to, pretty much do the whole product run and experience for the students, because no better tester for a new product than students. They're very good at adopting technology. They love to adopt new technology, and so it was a good trial site for us. As it came into, as the pandemic started to really take over, it wasn't that there were no students there. It was that would have been irresponsible to run something given all the communications that were going on. We didn't want to be making noise about something like this at the time. It just seemed inappropriate, and also the way we were going to run it in UCD would have inevitably meant people getting close to each other and large gatherings, people come to film the drones, all those things. So we just thought it would be prudent and polite not to do it. And at the same time, we were talking to the HSE, and the HSE have this living labs project, and their digital innovation folks thought it'd be a great idea. So we proposed to them as a contingency plan in the event that lockdown happened, we would be ready to serve cocooning individuals with whatever they needed, to just make the burden of cocooning a little lighter, and deliver people everything that they needed when they're being told by government to stay at home. It's not practical to stay at home if you need your pharmacy, if you need your prescribed meds, or if you need your food, whatever. So it was a nice marriage of where we were in terms of product readiness, and with the lockdown, with the IAA, the regulator, and the HSE all getting together to say, there's something we can do here, not to change the world, but to show what a future world might look like under, future pandemics, or even without future pandemics, what the world might look like with drone delivery. And it took us a week.
Can I ask, what's the scale of the operation right now?
That's tiny. So there's less than 1,000 people in Moneygall who are running it, and we're doing between 20 to 50 deliveries a day there. And so it's very small, but it's more than enough for us to showcase, the technology for us to understand how a local community responds to it, because in the end we're there with rolling in with this crazy technology to a rural town. It really, you couldn't be as diametrically further apart, with state-of-the-art technology rolling into, a lovely but rurally isolated town. And so it went with like 100% of the houses have adopted it. Everyone is using it, and they're using it in a repeated way. And that's what we wanted to see. We wanted to prove not just that the technology would actually work, because we knew that it worked. We wanted to prove that people want this, and not just that they wanted. They don't just wanted to, one off. Oh, look at me! I did a drone delivery. There it is. It's on Instagram, and that's it. But we wanted to show about behavior, that what will people order if you give people access to a 2-minute, 3-minute delivery product. What will they order? How will their behavior change? And given it's slightly, the data is slightly corrupted because we're in the lockdown, but we did learn, and we still are learning, that people are using it repeatedly, sometimes multiple times a day, and they're using it for everything. So we've delivered, obviously, pharmacy, so we've delivered prescribed meds, and that worked really well. But they're using it. We've had puncture repair kits delivered, we've had sausages, we've had bread, milk, we've had a birthday cake, everything. They really say, what do I need? And then then they go order it. They don't say what's available on drone delivery. They say, what do I need? And knowing that we're there, and they can get everything from, there's a Centra there, there's a Supermax there, there's a bunch of different, things there in the Circle K and Moneygall. So it's really everything that they need, and they ordered everything. And it was nice we kind of knew that was going to happen anyway, but it's nice to have the data to show that. One interesting behavior was, we saw that, prepared food's a perishable product, right? So the idea is that, it's fast to get there, and so therefore it's preserved. But one of the things we didn't figure out is that people, your drone delivery, but it's still delivery. So they're calling us up at 3 p.m. to order their prepared meal for 5 p.m. So they're saying, at 5 p.m. I want bacon and cabbage and potatoes. And they could have just called us at 5 p.m., because we'd be there 3 minutes later. So there's a bit of education, but that was an interesting one that we hadn't considered. So we didn't have any batch ordering or any, with no real reservation system. So we had to build that as we were going.
Okay. So with the insights you have now, what do you think is the future scale and breadth of drone delivery? What are we going to be having delivered by drone?
So the way to think about it is, if you look at existing data and then you apply that to a different paradigm. So it's a different paradigm being, currently delivery is really difficult, very difficult to scale, very expensive to operate, and it's a shitty product. Like, your average delivery time is 28 minutes across Europe, but actually at peak times, which is 12 hours in the weekend, it's more like an hour. And it's unpredictable, and the food arrives soggy and cold, and there's all these things that make it horrible, but people still use it because it's this fire and forget and kind of a latent, but relatively reliable thing, and they're lazy or they want to stay at home or whatever. So it's not a nice product. So behaviorally, people are still using it, but it's not delivering on what it's supposed to deliver on. And then if you couple that with the data, so today or last year, there was 750 million deliveries or food takeaways a year in the UK alone, 750 million. And that's growing at about 10% per annum. And that's a highly constrained market, where the volume is constrained by the fact that there is no delivery available, and people have to drive themselves to pick up. And that's just for the food sector. So you could conservatively say there's demand there of 1 to 1.5 billion deliveries a year just for prepared food from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And if you couple that with a 2 to 3 minute delivery guarantee, which keeps the product fresh and hot and not melted or not cooled down, but also guarantees it'll be there in that time, and is scalable, because scale is a function of manufacturing here, not of hiring and availability of staff. You would expect that will affect consumer behavior, so that consumption becomes more frequent and more granular. So people will order more or less things more frequently, and that would apply from prepared foods to convenience store items, to over-the-shelf pharmacy, your butcher, your fishmonger, your veg, everything that you need in your kitchen or in your house will be delivered by drone. And if you see a drone delivery in action, if you actually witness it firsthand, that's when the penny drops for people. When you say, right now, this is crazy, that thing behind me, that's wow, you know, that jets and stuff. People don't connect that to reality. But when you actually see it happening, it's very clear that it's by far a more sensible way to transport goods around than using the road.
Of course.
It's not just, you see it happening and say, you know, of course, that's way more efficient. And we're traveling through the sky at 60 to 80 kilometers an hour, you know, incredibly efficiently, silently, and reliably. I mean, why would you use a guy on a motorbike or bicycle or a car for the thing where the road network is limited, it's constrained, it's dangerous, and you need a human being to do it? It just makes absolutely no sense. And it's funny because we are, I think, at a pivot point in time now where what we're doing starts to sound more and more normal, and very quickly. I'm not saying that we're going to scale this quickly, but I think drone delivery will be and is being perceived as a realistic future more and more now. And the more that companies like us do, and the more stories we tell, and things that we show, the more normalized it's going to be. It's going to be in general population's thinking, and with that comes the flow of investor capital.
Indeed. Do you see it moving into areas like the work that a post office does and the deliveries from a post office?
There's no reason to think not, but a post person is very efficient. So he or she goes around with a bag with many deliveries in it, and is fairly efficient in terms of the time spent. So in other words, a postal worker can probably do 10 to 20 deliveries an hour. That's the way to think about it. So you work backwards in the efficiency of that and the cost of that, scalability of it, and you say, you know what, actually the postal system is quite efficient because, and the reason that is that it's batch driven. It's that people aren't expecting, they don't need their post in 5 minutes. They need it, you know, in the next 24 hours. So the way to think about use cases is instant gratification. And, you know, when people are at home, what is it that they need right away? And when that comes to anything that is perishable or is differentiated through instant gratification. So a book that you know you really want, we can get you your book in 5 minutes. Electronics, your new iPhone, probably not, because you want to do some shopping and you can wait. But most things that you need in your local community, you want them right away. And therefore,
Bobby, you mentioned scalability there, and no better man to address the subject of scalability. In DublinBIC, we talk to entrepreneurs every day, and all of them, or many of them, have a great idea, but not many of them scale to the scale that you have brought your businesses to. I'm thinking particularly of CarTrawler, well, certainly before the pandemic, about 1 billion consumers per year used a CarTrawler on one of the hundreds of international airline sites or thousands of online retailer sites that CarTrawler services. What's the difference between having a great idea and bringing it to that kind of global scale?
The team. So I think really, you know, by far the largest part, like if you have a business that's valid, if you have an idea that's valid, and if you have sufficient capital, you know, to give it the proper shot that it needs, assuming that those two are in place and your market timing is correct, then the job of scaling a business is 100% people and a leadership job. It's about hiring a strong team, and it's about helping them to work well together, and have been very clear about strategy, and within that then what is our plan to deliver that strategy, and then building the team and working with the team to execute on that. So I think it really is close to 100% on the team and how you build a team to execute on the plan. It's nothing else really. There's no, CarTrawler was honestly very straightforward. As you know, we had the right with the right market timing. We had the right strategy, which was indirect and, sales through thought leadership and very defined, well-defined market. So, Car was really a really straightforward business to grow, I have to say. And then the only difficult part of it was building and keeping the team motivated and keeping the momentum going without killing everyone on the way. And that is, I think that's the key. So if you're leading a business, you need to lead the business. It can't be all on you, and you can't be the best programmer, or without getting to cliches. It is teamwork, and it is about leadership and getting that right. And so therefore, you have to be very disciplined about removing people that don't work well in the team, no matter how good they are. And I know that's a cliche, but it's true. And then in the case of Cartrawler, and soon in the case of Manna, when you get to 20 to 30 people, you need to have a full-time HR person just to help everyone out, work well together, and that's more than a full-time job. And that has to happen early. So whoever leads on the people side is critical hire, and after that, it's just keep the pedal firmly to the ground without burning out too many people.
It's a great insight you made there, and it sounds quite paradoxical that you have somebody who's really, really good, but just isn't working in the team. And
yeah, and it's more common than not. I mean, depending on what defines really, really good, it's usually a person's own opinion of themselves. Fact is, there's no rocket science in nearly every business. There really isn't. It's about understanding strategy. It's about mapping a plan onto that strategy and about delivering on it. And I could point to on one hand the amount of geniuses I've met in my life, and none of them have ever worked for me, and I'm not one of them. It's not correlated to success. What is correlated to success is emotional intelligence, is good personality, good character, integrity, certain skills like leadership, and technology is a skill as well, but it's only one. And maybe that's experience teaches you that, but I certainly learned that a long time ago.
In the Silicon Valley model of scaling, funding always comes up as an important part of it, and the need to massively overscale the funding going into a business. But you haven't mentioned that at all. Where do you position funding in your list of priorities for scaling the business?
Well, so it's different. So each business will have a different profile, and even the stage of that business will have a different profile. So for a business like Cartrawler, we never had any funding. It was always profitable and was always able to grow at the appropriate pace for the business. And the question of appropriate pace here is what comes in, because for Manna now we're an R&D business, so the appropriate pace is as fast as possible, but with as small a team as possible, because that's the most efficient. And then we go into this phase where appropriate pace becomes as fast as possible, securely and safely as possible, where it's about very small commercial projects that demonstrate safety, that take no risks, cut no corners. It's about legal quality, it's about governance, it's about really strange things that don't sound like very technology things, but it's about the pace of that has to be very conservative, and it has to be very broad. So you have to do many things at once, at a relatively modest timeline. So you don't need a ton of money. Like our burn rate in Manna is about 200,000 a month. So it's not by any stretch of the imagination a big cash burner. But when we're ready to scale, which is in the next 12 months, say, and possibly 18 months, and when I mean ready to scale is we're now ready to take a big city or a big market and really attempt to go as fast as possible. Then you think about blitz scaling, and for anyone that's read the book, we fit it perfectly. We'll have something, we'll have a team, we'll have a product, we'll have a platform, we'll have a go-to-market strategy that is just for blitz scaling, where you want to be taking on hundreds of millions of dollars to capitalize on the opportunity before anyone else does. And I find it hard to find a business that's going to be as capital intensive as this business if it's successful as when it starts to scale. And because there's capital, requirement to roll out, the hardware is expensive. and there's boots on the ground for infrastructure rollout, and then there's boots on the ground for just operational function. So it's a really so kind of three different stages, and it is very important that you go at the right pace for the particular stage and nature of your business, no faster and no slower.
Very good. And a great call out there, the book Blitzscaling by Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn and many other businesses.
Yeah.
It's a great read, yeah. My last question to you, Bobby. I know that you are on the steering group of Scale Ireland, which is an advocacy group advocating for the right ecosystem for innovative startup enterprises in Ireland. What would you like to see to make Ireland the best place in the world to start up a business?
I think, Scale Ireland is a really, it's such a welcome thing for technology, Indigenous technology in Ireland. We've always had no voice at the top table. We've had great support from the likes of Enterprise Ireland and various different local government, but we have no voice in senior level government. And Scale Ireland seeks to address that. And where you see such great seeds and such great local ecosystems of different sectors in Ireland, small Indigenous in, say, travel sector or farm or whatever, we're all separate to each other. We don't know each other, and there's no collective voice that's put together to shout loud at government to say, here's what we need to thrive, here's how you need to support Indigenous tech. And you marry that with, so we're very fragmented, and we're not, we're not a lobby group compared to the farmers or the construction industry or any of the big industry that Ireland has traditionally relied on. We have no voice, and I would argue we're far more valuable. We are the industry that creates long-term high-value jobs, that creates exportable intellectual capital, that does it in a scalable way, that's friendly to the environment, that permits distribution of population around the country. We don't all need to be in Dublin. So we really are, we should be seen as the most attractive sector for Ireland Inc. to promote, to grow, to foster, to support. And unfortunately, beyond the state entities designed to support us, senior level government just don't necessarily focus on it. And so what I'd like to see, and I am seeing, is great response from everyone we've engaged with, and government now. And it's because we've finally gotten a voice and we're starting to really be clear about what needs to happen. And I'd certainly like to see a chief technology officer for the country. And I think that's a very important role, or at least a minister responsible for Indigenous technology, and to have that remit. And that's for me the next big step. We really need to put a label on this. And I'd like to hear Leo, I'd like to hear Micheál, I'd like to hear them all talk about Indigenous technology as much as they talk about the great news we get from Google, Facebook, everyone coming into Ireland. I think there should be just as many happy stories about the support for Indigenous tech.
In DublinBIC, we certainly agree with you. So thank you for that.
Indeed.
Bobby, it's been amazing talking to you about Manna. Really looking forward to see the further rollout of that technology. Really enjoyed your insights on scaling. Thank you very much. I know that many of our clients in DublinBIC and all the viewers of this video will really appreciate that. So thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much.